I thought that would be a bit of fun, just to kind of, again, show us the pace, show us the steepness of this curve, that what was last year's VRM, Zopa, seems like this year's mainstream. By the way, Virgin Money in the US is rolling out that kind of a service on its mainstream financial platform as well. VRM is something that some interesting brands are playing with at the moment as well. So it all comes down to the old fact that we're living through a revolution, the fact that we're moving out of this age of media through channels, the reason that we need to innovate and the reason that we need to change and challenge the way that things have been done in marketing and communications in the media so much is that our heads are stuck in an old world. Our heads are stuck in a world where media was produced and distributed through channels, and of course now we live in the vastest network. We live in a network, and we've not really got our head round how networks work. I'm not going to dwell on it. Just to say, and for anyone who's ever talked to me for more than 2 minutes, they'll know what I'm about to say. But this is a massive revolution on the scale not seen since the printing press, because of those fundamentals of content creation and distribution being changed. It is a long revolution. Revolutions don't arrive, plunk themselves on your desk, and you can decide what to do about them. Revolutions become more, the effects of revolutions on society, on commerce, on media, on everything, become more and more profound over time. And so, although it would be foolish to make a prediction about whether Facebook is here next year or whether VRM is the big thing next year, the one thing that we can guarantee almost is that massive disruption and fast pace of change in media and marketing will be the state that we're living in for the rest of our careers. And of course this creates massive, don't ask me what that picture's got anything to do with uncertainty and complexity. It's a pavement in San Francisco, which I thought was quite attractive, and I didn't want to do a sort of a PowerPoint photo of someone looking perplexed and uncertain. But we have to embrace uncertainty and complexity. We have to understand that innovation is key, and being prepared for massive change is key, but that pretending that we know what's going to happen next year and which social network should be in our media plan is a fool's errand. We need to just kind of get a bit zen about this and say uncertainty and complexity are going to be the state of affairs, and we need to work out models that allow us to deal with that, and ways of thinking. So the next thing about innovation and social media is that I think that it does give us inspiration for innovation, and it does give us some of the models that can help us to make sense and help to harness, as we say later on, ways of engaging in furious innovation. It's a kind of a bit of a hackneyed parallel now, so I won't go on about it. But you know, I do think a lot about the coffee houses of the 18th century in London, and how those social spaces, those platforms fueled by coffee and the new medium of print, gave birth to things like the idea of insurance and merchant banking. Cheers for that one. And various other amazing things like newspapers and the media, etc. We're going through that period of furious innovation at the moment, and one of the things that's most useful to us is to look at social media and look at the wider world and look for analogies, look for parallels of people dealing with complexity in interesting and useful and sensible ways. One of the analogies which we use a lot is the idea of attention markets. If we're moving from an age of channels into networks and into this age of super complexity, we like to think about this image of the Daily Telegraph's newsroom a lot, because it is a news organisation, it's a media organisation trying to react and respond to this massive complexity and this massive competition. They used to compete with 4 or 5 other quality newspapers in the UK. They now compete with a few thousand news sources around the world on Google News for who's going to be the one that provides news coverage on whatever. And we like this image of their newsroom because it looks like, and in fact used to be, a trading floor. And a financial trading floor for Salomon Brothers, and the fact that there are big screens up on the wall with data about what's happening in that minute to stories in the newspaper, which ones are the most popular that hour, that minute, that day, on various subjects. It's getting people into the mindset that they don't just acquire attention because they are the Daily Telegraph, that they're competing for attention even within the Daily Telegraph's web pages. So we like to think about attention markets. We like to think about how that might provide us with ways that we might respond from a marketing and a communications point of view. Certainly means that we need to move faster. It means we need to be more agile, listening more closely to what's going on, because we're competing that much harder for attention. One of our clients in the US is Toyota, and we draw a lot of inspiration from their whole lean philosophy, the idea of lean manufacturing. And we like to think about, although we've not formulated it into anything more meaningful, just sharing the ideas, but the idea about lean marketing, and the idea that big marketing campaigns that were pushed out the door into channels towards customers in the past are a kind of an industrial age, a mass production form of communications. But that when you look at Toyota and the fact that they're able to produce 4 or 5 different cars on the same production line in a day, that they're so agile in their supply chain in building these massively complex objects cars. If they're able to be that agile in their planning and their listening to the market and in manufacturing, then we can draw some of those lessons into marketing and communications, about being leaner, about being more agile. And one of the other places, of course, that we draw inspiration, as I say, is from social media itself, is from successful social media formats. My favourite, as many people know, is Dogster. I just like it. It's a MySpace for dogs. I keep talking about it because it is just nice and profitable, and it's survived about 5 years. It's got a good, strong community. And it's done so by, acting like a Web 2.0 company, by failing fast, by getting lots of ideas out the door very, very quickly, and by listening to its customers, by refusing to start to act like old media. And when it did, it sort of found itself punished by its community when it started to build bigger and bigger projects that took longer and longer time, like 6 months. They just kind of automatically failed. It kind of realised that it needed to innovate at a very, very fast pace in order to be successful. So one of the other big sources of inspiration, iCrossing's roots are very much in natural search and search engine optimization and paid search media. One of the big inspirations for us in terms of how to innovate within the business is Google. Not many of my colleagues are more cynical than I, but I'll confess I get a little dewy-eyed about them. I do love Google. I love the way that they innovate. I love the way that they try to develop new applications for new markets. There's a lovely phrase which a great blogger, Jeff Jarvis, calls what would Google do? I think it might not have been his, but he talks about it a lot, and I think he's trying to write a book about it. What would Google do from a strategic point of view about marketing communications is a question that we ask ourselves a lot. How would it develop? Well, spent some time looking at Google and a little bit of time with them, talking to them about how they innovate and things. And here are some lessons that I'd offer up to you as marketing and communications professionals. Google doesn't do things if it can't measure it. There was a lot of fuss about Google becoming the biggest brand in the world without advertising, and kind of thought that Google was anti-display advertising, anti-TV advertising, anti-print advertising. It's not. They're quite open to the idea. It's just they can't measure it effectively enough. They'd rather put their money into things that they can measure. They'd rather develop projects and innovate around things that they can measure. And one of the things that you realise, especially as a PR native going in and trying to become a digital native, is how much you can measure. I think one of the key sessions you'll see today is the measurement session early on this afternoon. How much data there is available out there, and how much data, if you work in a large organisation, how much data is available about your own website that nobody's doing anything with.